Hi everyone, I'm Luke Hector and you're watching The Broken Meeple. This is a YouTube channel about board games where I give reviews, top 10s and my honest opinions, regardless of the consequences. We'll get on with the show in just a minute, but first a quick word from my sponsor. As a fellow gamer, you'll understand this is unacceptable. The solution? Head down to my new sponsor, Kiender.co.uk. Kiender stocks many of the hot new releases as well as some old hidden gems. Free delivery on orders over £30, further discounts on bulk purchases, and even 5% of your spending refunded back to you as points to be used for further discounts down the line. If you use the referral link in the description below and sign up for a new account, you'll get 5% discount on your first order over £60. So let's make gaps in your collection a thing of the past. Get down to Kiender and start saving today. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the video.
Get on with it.
Right, I got an interesting one for you today, and this is Lands of Galzyr from Snowdale Design. Now, Snowdale Design has not done a lot of games in the past, but they are basically all animal themed, and the most significant one of them right now is Dale of Merchants. Dale of Merchants is a fantastic deck builder game which I still have downstairs in the complete collection and still remains one of my favorites of the genre. Lately, I believe they have a Kickstarter called Peacemaker, which is essentially a reprint of one of their other games that didn't do as well. But Lands of Galzyr is the newest one, and it's essentially the best way to describe it is a sandbox open world adventure with no real ending.
I hate endings.
So in Lands of Galzyr, you are thrust into this open world beautiful landscape filled with all these anthropomorphic animals, basically, where people are effectively animals, and there are a lot of varieties in this world. I'm playing Asala, which is the River Kingfisher, one of 4 playable characters with their own starting skill set as marked by these little counters, and also their starting abilities in gold. My abilities have changed a little bit since the start of this particular character, and so will yours during the game. The rest of it kind of reminds me a little bit of another game called Seventh Continent, where you have this huge tray of cards which represents anything from items to companions to quests to all sorts of other little story elements. But what you'll do is that you'll move around on this board to the various locations, like for example Yezden here, and every time you move you have to read story paragraphs, all of which are held on this web application. Now I know people are thinking, digital application, I don't like it. Trust me, it works to a T. It works perfectly. Haven't noticed any errors or bugs on it. But the idea is that you'll read these story paragraphs and it will get you to make choices which will usually involve skill checks.
Maybe we should
put the dice away before I take them away.
The skill checks in question are used with these custom dice. These custom dice have different facings on them depending on which skill you're going to use. Let's say I'm doing a survival check. I'm out in the wilderness and there's a snowstorm. Well, I have to comprise 5 dice consisting of black neutral ones and any dice relevant to the skill I'm doing. So I can choose adjacent or exactly the skill check that's required. So for example, a survival in the snowstorm would require me to roll yellow survival dice primarily, but if I happen to have a little bit of physical or knowledge skills handy, then I can also use the dice from them. You roll the dice, you get as many successes as you can, compare it to the web application story element, see how many you got, and then it will play out the next part of the scenario and it will end it, or it will get you to do further skill checks. It is very much like a choose your own adventure book. You'll carry on in this fashion through multiple turns until effectively the week is run out. You do so many days depending on player count, and then you see how much prestige you've earned during the game, at which point it gives you a nice little story element at the end to see how well you've done. And that's kind of it, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's basically what this game is. It's a choose your own adventure sandbox game that doesn't have a set Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. It's all about just going through and having a nice little time with a different world, influencing it as you go along with the cards and your decision making. It's light, it's fluffy, and it's not meant to be taken too seriously.
Why so serious?
We've seen games do this kind of thing before with the whole open box, sandbox, world adventure, whatever box you want to call the definition. But the one that comes most to mind is the Seventh Continent, or what I like to call Filing Cabinet the game. It was a similar thing. You went out, you explored, but it had something that you were aiming to do. You just didn't know where on earth to find it. It used a similar tray of cards that you've got out in order to facilitate the map, things you found, items, companions, etc. Well, here you have a board already, although there are cards on it it to represent like locations, which could chop and change depending on your decisions, but for the most part the cards here are mostly about items, quests, allies, and things that you can do. And whereas Seventh Continent had a beginning, middle, end, I mean you had an objective to aim for, here the objectives are whatever you come across. There's a bunch of quests that you'll find on notice boards and you will decide what you want to do at any particular time, but you still have the tray of cards, and then you can save the game between games or during a game, much like the same way Seventh Continent felt. This is of course though a much lighter version than Seventh Continent and not as serious or gritty. Props have got to be given to the production quality, and not just quality in terms of physical components, but just the amount of care that I can see that's gone into this game. The components are already really good. I mean, you get these really cool, high quality custom dice with etched designs on them. These are really great to throw. I particularly like these little player boards. These player boards where you have a dial for the gold, but then you have these little colored segments for the skill sets. And basically, anytime that you want to chop and change or add skills, you just add the pegs effectively to the respective wheels, and you can have, like in my case, I've got a very focused character here, or you can have skill sets in other areas to be less competent at them, but to be more varied in what you do. It entirely depends on what you do during a game and what you want to do. But I love these little boards because this is a neat idea, and I can really jiggle this around and really shake it, and these pegs do not fly off. You have to physically pull them out of here in order for them to go anywhere. The dial is firm, so even after doing that, it's on 14 gold like it was before. I can really do what I like, and it doesn't affect the board. Good quality. The cards, they all feel good and sturdy. I mean, mine came with sleeves, so I have sleeved mine, but honestly, I feel that you could get away without sleeving this game and you would do just fine, but you are fending through a filing cabinet effectively at the card, so maybe sleeving it is not necessarily a bad thing. Other than that, you've also got little counters to maintain tracking. You've got a solid rule book. You've got the web application itself, which, as I said, has got good writing. It works. It didn't have errors or bugs on it. And it's a very simple to follow interface where you simply type in the number of whichever segment you had to from a card, like 303 or whatever. And then it just takes you paragraph by paragraph, easily telling you what skill checks are needed, what the successes are, like the different, achievements for it, and then it plays everything out. It's a really cool interface, and everything here just feels like it's had care. Like they thought about, right, how are we going to make this as smooth as possible from the card's perspective? We're going to get this web application right. We're going to make sure it works. We're going to get the language proper, because bear in mind, this is from a Finnish, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, a Finnish publisher and designer, which means that you obviously have the language barrier to English. And we've seen games with translation errors in the past where it's a nightmare to translate their writing to English.
Does anybody understand what this duck is saying?
Here, I read it and it just felt like it felt like just normal writing. Like there was nothing in it that suggested a translation issue, or at least nothing came out to me. Maybe I skim read it too fast. In terms of the world immersion, this is a very light Zen-like style game from a sandbox perspective. You go into this world and you just have fun with it. You just decide, you know what do I fancy doing? Well, I have got this personal quest I'm doing, but then I look on the notice board there and it's like, oh, somebody over in Tezhoon wants to go to a race at some point. Okay, well, I could take him to the race and see what happens. You go there, and over the multiple turns, you'll traverse from one location to another. You'll resolve that little quest. It will get done. You'll get some rewards for it if you did it well or if you failed it. And then you'll move on to the next quest, and then you'll move on to the other. And slowly but surely, you'll start influencing other characters, as in you might get new allies, you'll get cool new items, but you might even affect the board itself. The location cards, I've already changed a few of them by my actions. We once had a fighting arena at one point, and now I've suddenly changed it to be a sports arena, effectively. So we've said, no, we don't want harmful gladiatorial stuff in this area. We want just a nice little athletics bit. And suddenly the location card has changed. It's a world that you can just kind of jump in and out of. You don't have to absorb a ton of background lore for this. You don't need to know that what the relationships are between the polecats and the kingfishers or whatever. When you go into the web application, you can highlight the particular animal type and little bits in italics, and it will give you a short synopsis of what that race is like. What are the polecats like? What are the penguins like?
We killed them and ate their livers.
and it's just enough to get you immersed without feeling like it's overwhelming or that you have to do some, like, you have to, like, take a test at the end of it to understand it all. It's just nice, simple short stories, like it was a TV series that ran every week and it was just episodic. There's no overarching mega plot that's defining this. You don't start with a personal objective that then lasts 20 games, resolves, and then that's it. You will probably resolve your starting quest in probably the first game you play, maybe the second, and then after that you're just doing other quests and you're just going out and having a bit of fun. It's a very good way to immerse you in a world without bombarding you with so much predetermined lore or learning ahead of time.
This is light.
Discovering new things is also good fun to do. You can change your skill sets as you go through the game. At the moment, my kingfisher is very perceptive. I mean, I figured it was a bird, it would probably fit, but there's also a bit of a survival expert. Just don't ask him to be very sneaky, very diplomatic. I've been doing a lot of intimidation with this character, or to be that have that much prowess in combat. He's just very observant and very good survivalist, but struggles a little bit with other skills. But you do get multiple skills per scenario, so it's not like the scenario says you must take a combat check. It gives you options. So it's like, okay, you could fight these guards and go through the gate, or you could sneak around, or you could go up and chat to them and maybe intimidate them to let you pass or convince them you're someone else. So it usually gives you at least 2, if not 3 options for a scenario, so that you don't have to feel like a particular skill set you took is really like hampering you at any stage. But through here you've got all the different items and allies and various things that you can get, and it's satisfying to get these. You have limited scope for carry anything though. You only have an inventory of 3 slots, and you regularly get new items or come across them, so it's a constant decision to decide which 3 items you're going to carry at any particular time, and you'll constantly keep swapping them in and out. But these items will get you bonuses on particular skills, or give you certain abilities, or give you a number of successes on particular skills. And so you're kind of developing your character and chopping and changing every now and again, thinking, well, I did start off with a very high intimidation, sort of character, and now I'm like, you know what, I'm veering away from that. I just want to be super survivalist, like no bit of terrain, no weather is going to do my head in, and so I've taken stuff to help me with that. Like I've got a map, and you know what, I kind of need to do something in combat. Oh, I found a blunderbuss. Oh, I'm going to carry that around and start, if I can't kill anyone, you don't kill anyone.
And death.
If you're going to take someone out in combat, maybe I can do it from afar rather than get up close. It's a very satisfying thing. It's constant, it's always just nice. And it's not like it's like, oh my god, this is like a game-breaking moment. It's all like, oh my god, surprise twist. No, as I said, simple, short, and sweet. Pretty much 3 words you could use to sum up this game. But it just fills you with enough joy to keep you immersed and, keep you interested to just play it every now and again. This is not a game that you are playing to satisfy a big campaign. This is more like something that you could get home from work, pull out, and within quick time just play in about an hour, if less than even in solo mode. You can play this game really quick solo once you know what you're doing, and you can just have a bit of fun in this world and do stuff. The save system in here is brilliant. You can save this in the middle of a game if you really had to and come back to it easily enough. Leave it on the table, not a problem. But honestly, packing this game away and then taking it out of the box again is simplicity itself. The cards are all in one tray that I can just take out of the box. You have another little box with world-based stuff in it. Aside from that, your board is already pre-prepped from the last time, and the web application is already there for you to go. So you can pretty much just go, whoop, 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 go. And that's it. And then in terms of saving, you just go, right, I'll return these cards to the box. There's my board, there's my dice, pack everything away, done. Super, super fast. This one isn't so much a con, it's more of a warning. You do have to understand that this is a Zen-like sandbox open world choose your own adventure game in every sense of the description. There's no end boss, there's no campaign, there's no real structure to it. You go in and do what you like. You can play this solo, co-op, or competitive, but honestly the difference is simply that you can decide who won by getting the most prestige. but that's kind of meaningless unless you're just playing this with your spouse. I can't see any reason 3 or 4 players would sit down and play this game. This doesn't feel like a group game per se, unless maybe you got a family and you got like mum, dad, and a couple of kids who want to get into this world. Perfectly suited to that maybe, but you know, that's more for families and light gamers. If you're talking about someone like me or like a die-hard gamer, this isn't something that you're likely to play with anybody more than, say, your gamer spouse, which you can still have fun with, and some reviewers out there who have taken this game have done that pretty well. But in my case, I have just played this solo, and I'm literally coming at this from a solo perspective, but I can jump in, have a quick game, jump out, and have a good amount of fun with this, and I can still get some level of, joy from this, a decent level of joy, in fact. But yeah, I don't see this being like for those who want to have a proper overarching story or something. You have to know that this is just basically more of an experience game, and if that's not your thing and not what you're looking for, stay away, because you're going to find this underwhelming. You're going to wonder what is the point of this. It can also be a little bit hard to see how your decisions are impacting the world. They do impact the world for some part. You'll change some locations on here, or because you've got like particular items and stuff, it will affect something going on. And as you go through the game, the quest cards that you draw from in order to see what's out there, as you do some quests, you'll go through this tray and put new ones into that pile, so that eventually stuff will come out that links to stuff you've done before. But you may not notice these transitions for a little while. It may be quite a few games before you get to a quest that's like, oh yeah, that was related to that time I snuck into that place and, helped some guy get his art painting back or something. Oh right, well, let's see how this goes now. It's not like you see the ramifications instantly, and if you've put this game away and not picked it up for a while, you might have forgotten you did that. Stuff like changing the landscape and the locations. I've changed a few locations on there. I've yet to actually go to said locations and see what those changes did, but I have influenced the map in a way. So if you're really trying to see something like really evolve, it does, but it takes its sweet time to do so. Lands of Galzyr is a strange one to say the least and to review, because it's a sandbox experience. It's not even one that I could honestly call a game. It's just you jump in, read some short stories, upgrade your character, do some cool stuff, evolve the world a little bit, and then you're out, and then the next time you come back in, you'll do some more stuff like that. This isn't a campaign that you go through 20 games and then that's it. You just keep playing this until the end of time, frankly, or until you feel like doing another character. And it's cool that you can basically just have other characters jump in at any point. Even though I've done this character through let's say 20, 30 games, somebody else could jump in with a brand new character. I could reset to another character, and the game has simple rules for you to do that. But if you want a game that's like Descent, Tainted Grail, Oathsworn, Gloomhaven, these like beginning, middle, and end structures, you're not going to get it here. So you need to know that going in. But I think for family gamers, I think for light gamers, or even people like me who just want something nice and relaxing from a storybook element all the time, I think this is so solid that I would consider this a benchmark for this type of game. If I'm comparing other storybook games in the future, like Choose Your Own Adventure or sandbox experiences, I'm going to be thinking of Lands of Galzyr, because it knows what it sets out to do, and it does it pretty much pitch perfect. It achieves its objectives. It's simple, it's light, easy to save, easy to take out and put away, looks gorgeous, great production quality, a little bit more expensive than the average storybook game, but then care has gone into this, and you can see that you're getting your money's worth in terms of content if you are going to play this over and over again, because you probably never will finish it, or at least won't finish it from a storybook perspective. I know it's a bit weird, but the fact that they give you like welcoming letters, and they give you a different web application that works really well. It's just, you can tell that care went into this. Is it something that I'm going to pull out every single week and play? No, but I could pull this out pretty much whenever I want, play it for a session, and just enjoy some decent writing in a nice world with, a storybook adventure that isn't quite as gritty or bloody as something like Tainted Grail. If I want a massive campaign like that, then I've got Tainted Grail already for those purposes. But for something light, cool, and just something that I could even just pull a few people in randomly if they wanted to learn the game, I can easily put more people into this, we can have a quick session, and I don't have to worry about how it affects my current character. It's a solid game all round. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. It deserves the praise of what it's been getting because it does what it sets out to do so well. Yes, okay, it doesn't have a structure, but is that really something to fault the game over? Really? It's just more that this clearly knows its audience and it plays to that audience and it does a great job of it. I still want to go back into this world every now and again and see how my character develops and maybe have another character and play in a different style. Like, okay, I was a observant survivalist now. Now I'm going to be a swordsman, with sneaky skills, and in the next one I'm going to be a diplomat or something. I can play these characters how I like and just have a good time with it. Really, really excellent game, well produced, and one that is starting to get a little bit more buzz now. It's a bit of a sleeper hit, I find, and I hope it gets a wider audience, particularly with family gamers, because I think this is just perfect for that setting. Family gamers who want something with cutesy stories for their children. I think, honestly, this is excellent. So that's it for me on this episode of The Broken Meeple. If you like what you've seen, then please thumb it up on YouTube and thumb it up on Board Game Geek when I put it live on the website for that specific game. Let's get it in the hot reviews. Don't forget to check out more reviews I've done on the channel. Lately, it's all been about Essen, so by all means, check out all my Essen game haul and live streams that I've done on there. And of course, let me know your thoughts about this game, this type of game. Do you like the fact that it's basically got no real ending? Do you like these types of games which are sandbox open world, or is this something that you're currently going to avoid? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, remember, regardless of whether you want to start off with a kingfisher, a polecat, a newt, whatever animal you like to play as, it's still only a game. Bye for now, everyone.